Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, SMEs and also business owners. Now on today's show, we're going to be discussing post-Brexit opportunities for SMEs and businesses. Are you a business? Have you been watching the television recently? Are you feeling just ever so slightly depressed at the moment with all the bad news that has been thrown at us? Is Brexit going to be that bad for SMEs and small businesses? Or is Brexit going to be the biggest opportunity that we've ever had? Or does it make any difference at all to what we're doing on a day-by-day basis? Joining me in the studio today is Vic Williams. He's the founder of the Audacious Company, and we're going to be talking about opportunities for SMEs post-Brexit. Vic, it's lovely to have you with us. Now, before we go any further, and before you even open your mouth, South African, I believe. Whereabouts?
Indeed, I am a South African. I come from Durban. We moved over here about 5 years ago, five and a half years ago.
Looking back, business, yes. Is the business situation better, worse or indifferent over there?
I suppose it depends on what sort of environment you're in. But I would say probably the business environment here is better. You've got greater opportunities, more things that you can do.
Now, we're going to be talking about opportunities for businesses post-Brexit, and there is a lot on the TV at the moment. I was only watching a programme the other day, and all sorts of things were going on, but one of the spokespeople was really putting the country down, and he just felt like we were being talked into disaster. When you're going out, what's the general feel from businesses that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think, Steve, at the moment, you kind of got two camps. On the one side, you've got those people that are saying it's a great opportunity, we can make this work. Then you've got the other side, and that's the side that's going, we've become Little Britain. We've lost the great part. And I think what people need to understand is it's still Great Britain. It's a great opportunity. It's a great environment. And what you talk is what will eventually become.
It's what you're wishing for, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. If you keep on saying it's going to go down, business is going to get bad, then automatically you're tuning yourself to bad business. And you're going to have that perspective when you're going to see a client, when you try to set up a new product, when you try to set up a new service. So I think the message that we need to communicate, and I think not just from those people that have got that attitude, but from everybody in general, is that it's an opportunity. Here's a change, it's a disruptive environment. Here's a change. Let's get out there and make it happen.
People don't like disruptive environments, do they? Tell me a little bit about Audacious as a business and what you actually do. What's the daytime job? What do you do?
The daytime job, Steve, we do three different things. Firstly, we do leadership training. Secondly, we do management training. And then thirdly, we help companies restructure themselves. Basically, the idea is that we help SMEs position themselves to take advantage of whatever headwind is coming their way, or to position themselves to make great profits in any environment, irrespective of what's happening.
When you're out there and you're going into businesses, what do you think, and this may be about Brexit or not, but what's the biggest mistake that you're seeing businesses do when it comes to the way people manage it, as that's what you're in?
Yeah.
Is there something that is common across all industries and all businesses? Or I know every business is individual and different, but they all have their own character. But can you see a common thread anywhere?
Recently, I did a survey via LinkedIn and a number of other social media channels. And the common theme that came back from that is three things. The question was, what are the three things that keep entrepreneurs or SME owners awake at night? And the common theme that came through from that, and it's the common theme that I see as I go around various businesses, is firstly, cash flow. Secondly, what impact is Brexit going to have? And thirdly, what do we do about staff? So those seem to be the three common themes. But I think the biggest thing that is affecting people at the moment is what impact will Brexit have? And I think the answer to that is we don't really know.
Do you think that we've got it under our skin at the moment, that we've made it a talking point, and we're talking and talking and talking about it, but the reality is that it probably on a day-by-day basis won't have that big an impact at all anyway?
Yeah, I think you're right there, Steve. I think a lot of people are talking about something that is fairly nebulous, in the sense that there's no concrete structure in place. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And that's the perspective most people are talking about it from. I think what we need to do is, instead of asking that question, what is going to be the impact on small business, I think what SMEs should be saying is, what impact can we have on this future that may lay before us, whatever that looks like.
When we look at the whole area of Brexit, is it going to could it affect most businesses, do you think? Will there be some change and we've just got to adapt to that change?
Yeah, I think there will be some change. If you're a small business, a lot of small businesses do business with bigger companies, your corporates, those listed on the stock market. And those are the guys that will generally feel the bigger part of the impact, whatever that may be. That could trickle down to small business. But what small business can do is position themselves so that when that impact happens, if it happens, they are positioned correctly to take advantage of it.
So what advice then are you giving directly, the top level advice? I mean, obviously we're going to go into detail about what we can do, but what is the top level piece of advice then that you're giving managing directors, the CEOs, the management teams that you're training? What's the advice you're giving them?
There's basically three things I'm saying to them. You've got to change the way you view things, so your philosophy. How do you look at what's coming down the road? So that's the first thing, change your philosophy. Change your philosophy, it's going to have an automatic impact on your attitude. If your attitude is positioned correctly, your actions will be the right ones.
But isn't that fundamental to business anyway, that the whole attitude thing? Surely every business should have a different approach. I mean, it was interesting what you said, that it's, cash flow obviously is going to keep everybody awake at night. That keeps us all awake at night, doesn't it? Cash flow is a big issue, and you've got to get your head around that, and you've got to work that out. But what will be. And that's the reality of it. Yeah. We're up against banks that have never run a business.
Correctly.
And you're talking to people, hello, is that the bank? Look, we've got a bit of a cash flow problem. Don't know what you're talking about.
Got no idea.
No idea. I get paid every month. I work in a bank.
Absolutely.
I work in a bank. Come on, guys, wake up, smell the coffee.
Yeah.
The reality's out there. It's called small business. We need your help.
Absolutely.
If you're working in a bank. So we work our way through that. Is Brexit really the number two?
It is, yes. Yeah.
So what kind of worries do they have?
I think the biggest concerns are the fall in the pound. How far is the pound going to fall?
Well, of course, the soothsayers all predicted that it would be
disaster.
It would be sub $1.
Yeah.
And it would drop off against the euro. Okay, it did for a while. It's coming back.
Well, the pound was really overtraded. It was overvalued, and so it's kind of come back to a value that it should be at. But a lot of guys were trading at that higher value, and so their concern is we're going to have to buy at a lower value to the pound, so it's going to cost us more to import. But on the other hand, guys are saying, well, we can export now because it's cheaper. So it's kind of two sides to that same coin. But the thing that is the biggest focus in terms of Brexit is, are we going to lose access to the common market? Yes or no? Nobody can say. But the point is not the 500 million people that live in Europe. It's the 6 billion that live in the rest of the world. That is the opportunity. And I think that's the message we need to convey to SMEs is it's a huge world out there, massive world. And there's a lot of opportunity within it.
What would you say to people that say that we're all outward looking? Are we going to lose access to this largest market that's on our doorstep, 20 miles away? Surely somebody somewhere must be saying within the EU, what's left of it for the moment, depending on when you're watching this, of course, if it does, it could be a thing of history. But looking at the EU, surely somebody within the EU must be going, are we going to lose access to the fifth largest economy
in the world? Well, if you think of, let's take champagne, for example. The biggest purchaser of champagne, of French champagne,
you're going to say it's us, aren't you?
Is the UK.
Yeah, we take about a third of it just in this building alone.
Remind me not to be here when it happens. But the UK buys about 1.4 billion bottles of champagne a year. So it's a massive market. Why would...
Yeah, what's everybody else drinking then?
The rest of it. I think the point is, why would a French farmer want to lose access to that market? To me, I'm not talking about politics at all. I'm a businessman. And as a businessman, I want to say, I've got access to those people who are buying my product. Why would I do anything to jeopardize it? So as a French farmer, I would be saying, you've got to be kidding me. Yes, there's going to be this political divide, but why do we have to change the way we do business?
Do you know, it's interesting because everybody, and I have in the past as well, whenever I've talked about the markets across the channel, of course, I would go down the route of BMW, Audi, other car manufacturers are available, but you are talking about, I mean, they will want the UK market.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the largest markets that they have for their vehicles. Their
products,
And they really were going to be wanting to be selling into that.
It's the same as the Dutch market with the cheeses. They want access to this market.
You've thought this really through. Champagne, cheese. I can see the kind of guy you are.
Yeah, you can see the kind of thing I'm into. But the same is true, as you mentioned just now, for the German automakers. Here's a fantastic market. Why would you want to let it go? The fact is, and please understand, I'm talking about this from a business perspective. The fact is that we are Europe's largest market. Why would you want to let go of that? Purely from a business perspective.
Well, we've got Mr. Juncker. He's on the line right now, and he's doing. Actually, wouldn't that be wonderful if he was? I mean, there's a man that's living in a world of his own. Listen, I sound very political today, and I'm very, got to be down the line, very neutral on this. But there does seem to be a lot of half truths that have been spread around
on both sides of the argument, Steve. Both sides of the argument. But it doesn't really matter how you voted. What matters is tomorrow. And you can only affect tomorrow by what you do today. And if your attitude is right today and you take the right actions today, tomorrow takes care of itself.
All right, well, what we're going to do, we're going to work our way through some of the opportunities that are going to be there. We're going to talk a little bit about the fact that we're probably a country of service industries. That's the issue that we have. We're big in financial services. We're big in other service industries across the UK. Maybe our manufacturing base has dropped off. I think we probably do more manufacturing than we probably realise here in the UK. Vic, before we started the programme, was telling me that it's not just services, it's not just manufacturing, but it's soft skills. It's the innovative nature of the country that we live in. The fact that we are the ideas people of Europe. We're the, ideas people of the world. And, maybe that's also something that we should be trading on as well. My guest on today's show is Vic Williams. He's the founder of Audacious Company. We'll be finding out more about the opportunities for Brexit for your business in just a moment. It's great to have you with us. We're live on a Monday, as always. I wonder if Mr. Juncker is watching. If you are watching, by the way, Mr. Juncker, please do give us a call. We'll Skype you in at a moment's notice, quite frankly. I'd love to have him on the show. I give him peace of my mind.
Yeah, well.
I always feel he's telling me off. That's the trouble with him, I think.
Yeah, he's like a head teacher standing in the front, giving you a good hard
I'm going to give you a damn good talking to. How dare you do this? Anyway, let's move smartly on. Let's talk about what happened in last week's edition of the programme. We had a cracking show last week. We had Andrew Weaver. He's the CEO and founder of Lawyer Fair. He joined us on the programme. We've kind of followed Andrew through the development of Lawyer Fair from the very early days, and we've been talking to him. He's been coming in on a regular basis, telling us how he started the business, how he went after seed funding, where he raised £150,000 just to get the idea moving along. Then he went through a second stage of funding, and now currently he's talking to the likes of Crowdcube to do some crowdfunding. And Andrew came in the program, and also he explained the process that he went through to get to where he is now, and what the future holds for the business as well, where they're going to go. Because he even said to us on the show, he said, this isn't the final lot of funding that we're looking for. There's going to be more to come. But obviously, you know, what are the processes that you go through? What are the considerations you must have in your mind's eye when it comes to going out there and finding funding for your business? If you've got a great idea, it doesn't mean people are going to build a path to your door. You've got to get out there. First of all, you've got to publicise it. Are you comfortable with it? Is there a market for it? They went through all of that. They are another disruptor kind of site, in the same way as Uber are to the taxi industry. They are to the legal industry. Fascinating show. If you've missed it, please do take the opportunity to either download it on iTunes, watch it on businessconnectionslive.com, or go to YouTube and watch the entire show there. Leave us your comments. Let us know what you think. Just to give you a bit of a taster, here's Andrew Weaver from last week's edition of Business Connections Live. Now, on today's show, we're going to be discussing the fact that no one who launches a startup should be looking for an easy life. Trust me, that is not going to be the case. If you are in the throes of getting your business up and running and you're out there, you're looking for funding, quite frankly, you need some real perseverance built in. You've got to be resilient. You've just got to keep going. Joining us in the studio today is Andrew Weaver. He's been getting going for a number of years now. He's the CEO and he's the founder of Lawyer Fair.
In essence, Lawyer Fair helps businesses find the right lawyers, and the lawyers then compete for the work. So we're a curated marketplace for commercial legal services. There's never been a greater time to launch. The amount of freelance sites that are out there with really, really talented people selling their wares around the world. So you can create and build a site, you can create and build a marketing trade, you can almost get anybody to do anything for a relatively small cost. The key is there a market for it? Are you capable of executing that? And what's the opportunity cost going to be for you? Which is a very important thing and people underestimate. The opportunity cost being the amount of value of your time. You start off and you launch this startup, you think, I'm going to change the world, and then you hit your first wall. And it drops into what's called the trough of despair. And there is no startup, there is no successful entrepreneur who hasn't hit probably more than one of those, and I certainly did. So essentially, it was me and a laptop for the first 6 to 9 months. But what that enabled us to do was, we were going back to the lean startup to test the appetite for the market. We clearly saw there was appetite. Certainly the first 12 months were self-funded. Essentially 3 of us, chairman and 2 co-founders. Not a huge amount, but we needed a certain amount of money to get us going. Then we got to the point in late 2014 where we thought, we need to do something here. We've got proof of appetite. We haven't got proof of concept. You think £150,000 is a lot of money, and of course it is in the real world. The reality is it doesn't buy you much runway. It buys you 2 or 3 people in the team and a certain marketing budget. So we always knew, even when we raised that in April 15, that we were going to use it very much to get the concept right and what's called in kind of lean startup world the product market fit. So, we need to make sure we're shaping this so that when we raise some proper money, we know exactly what we're doing. I mean, there are quite a lot of funds out there. There is quite a lot of money out there, to be honest. And if the idea is right, and because the tax relief mechanism means that the risk is ironed out a lot for the investor, there are lots of funds out there. I mean, you've got to get your timing right. The quick point to make about that is that SEIS, the release of SEIS is often linked to the tax year. You'll get some funds, I suspect, who are very standoff. They are a fund created to aggregate a number of small investors and then put it into certain projects. And I don't know because I haven't dealt with them, but some of them are more involved than others. You get individual investors that will want to be hands-on. People now, in our space, for example, I call it the reverse auction space. So people now expect to go and get their consumer goods via a comparison service. And that's increasingly moving into professional services, what I call cognitive services. So that wasn't there 5 or 10 years ago. And there's no doubt, again, that the tools that are out there now, and podcast was one of the ones that we used. So we launched a series of podcasts back in June of last year, June 2015. And we launched it literally from our MacBook and a microphone, podcast microphone. And we just got a momentum to it. The original idea was actually that we would spin out content from it. So it was much easier to have a 15-minute chat with someone and create a piece of content out of that than sit on your own trying to write an article. Absolutely. So it's funny how you kind of virtuous circle starts to develop once you get momentum and traction and credibility. So you start to attract people, you start to attract new ideas, you start to look at the market in a different way. You're talking about the evolution of a business model. All of those constituent parts help iterate your model. I mean, fundraising generally is a furtive activity. So psychologically, it is quite a change of culture in terms of releasing information into the market. But actually we found it's been brilliant. It's been a really positive experience, and we have had people come to us who we would never have got to. And I'm talking, serious serial entrepreneurs who've come to us via that platform. The level of inspection, the level of due diligence that Crowdcube, and I'm sure the others, undertake is far more intense than I'd anticipated, and hats off to them for it. It's quite right that it is. So you need to make sure that any claims you're making are absolutely watertight, and quite rightly so. Andrew Weaver, CEO, co-founder of Lawyer Fair. There is no doubt that if you're launching a startup, you're not going to have an easy life. However, it enables you to live the life that you want, to deliver a product that you believe in, and you just have to be tenacious and persevere with it if you think that the market wants it. Good luck.
Andrew Weaver there, CEO and founder of Lawyer Fair. If you do get an opportunity, please do watch the programme. As I said, he's been on the show a couple of times, 149 programmes. In fact, today is our 3-year anniversary. The programme's been running for 3 years. And I was just talking to Vic while we were watching Andrew, and we were saying that the first programme is still as relevant today as it was 3 years ago. The first programme, it was, we had... it'll come to me in a moment. We had Paul and we had Nikki Creel on, and we were talking about networking and also about how to use Twitter in your business. What they were saying then is as relevant then as it is now, and as relevant now as it is then. Paul Bridgeland, of course, was the guest on the very first show. I would like to thank all our guests that have been on the programs over the last 3 years. Thank you very much indeed. Without you, it wouldn't have been possible. You've really made Business Connections Live the success that it is. By the way, if you'd like a program like this of your own for your own business, maybe employee communications, maybe internal comms, maybe to get out there, tell your business clients what your business is currently doing, educating, being informative. If you want a program like this, we can brand it, we can change the look of the studio, we can do all that for you. Why don't you get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live? It's dead easy. All you got to do is drop us an email to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. It's easy peasy. Or if you wish, you can give us a call on 01784 256 777. Talk to myself or Linda Bazant, and we'll talk you through just some of the opportunities that are available for your business, for us to help you grow your business for that matter. If you want to follow our stream of consciousness, or you want to DM us, then why don't follow us on Twitter, along with the rest of our business community, 3,500 people following the programme at the moment on Twitter. Just go to BCL Business TV. And the big success story, I think, this year when it comes to social media is going to be Facebook and Facebook Live. We're using Facebook Live to stream these programmes, and the response that we are getting is absolutely phenomenal. If you are in business, you need to be using Facebook and Facebook Live. At the moment, Facebook, I think, feels that they need to promote the live video content that is going up there. So therefore, their algorithms or whatever, they seem to be allowing it to get to a larger audience. Fantastic. If you want to do that with your business, put it on your business page. What a great way. You can watch us on all those platforms, also on YouTube, Roku, Stitcher, Blueberry, we're everywhere. You can take us with you 24/7. As I've just been told, we're a bit like a rash. We're all over the place. So there you go. If you want more details, simply just get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live. You're watching Business Connections Live. Joining me in the studio today is Vic Williams. He's the founder of the Audacious Company. We're talking about Brexit and the opportunities that it's going to give businesses that are out there. It's a strange old place, Vic, that we find ourselves in. And, we were talking about tomorrows and the future. Brexit, the process is going to take some time. Do you feel in your heart of hearts that it's going to be pretty much the same today as it is tomorrow and the day after? Are we looking at months, years, decades to get this all sorted out? Or do you think it'll come all of a sudden?
I think, again, there's two sides to that thing. I think that question. I think the initial part, with a decision made and all the toys being thrown out the cot, will happen fairly quickly. But the process to make it live will take a period of time, and that initially probably going to be 2 years. But I think if I talk to a lot of the solicitors I speak with, we're talking 5-10 years down the road before a lot of contracts are unwound. So yeah, there's a long period.
We don't really, I suppose, have the skills, do we, within corporate management in government, and we're having to bring those skills in, and we're having all to relearn those skills.
I think, again, bring them in and relearn them. But as much as in government on the UK side, those skills don't exist, to the same degree, they don't exist in Europe either. Recently, I read an article that said they've got to bring in people into Belgium to deal with these things because nobody expected it.
Because nobody knows what they're doing. It's the long and the short of it.
Well, they don't know where they're going.
Feeling confident now, aren't we? Listen, the whole thing is about being disruptive. Absolutely. We talk about disruptive markets, and when that comes along, that disruptive event, we see markets dip, they come back again, they regrow. And you've very kindly laid out just some of the disruptive events that have taken place that we've seen major change happen afterwards. For instance, all the experts, London School of Economics, they didn't see it coming, neither did the banks, the 2008 economic crisis. Absolutely. We had that. Now, that was a hugely disruptive moment in business.
Yes.
We didn't see it coming, yet we're here today and we survived it.
Absolutely.
9/11, 9/11, that came along.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I remember where I was. Yeah. Everybody does.
Absolutely.
Where they were the moment the two planes hit the trade towers. Yeah. So when we think about those disruptive elements, if anything, they feel like they have got more of a consequence than what is currently happening. This seems to be a soft disruptive event.
Sure. Well, if you look at all those disruptive events, so 2008 financial crisis, it affected the whole world, and we're still feeling some of those effects now. 8 years down the road, people are looking back and going, where we are today is because of what happened then. Businesses grew, businesses failed. A lot of people made money, a lot of people lost money. A hugely disruptive event.
But that's not a big change, though, is it?
No, it's not. It's the way of the world.
It's the way of the world. That's what happens all the time.
Every day there's disruptive impact. So some are big, some are small. You have a competitor comes out with a new product that you didn't anticipate, and they sideswipe you and take half your clients. It's a disruptive event. How do you respond to it? And I think that's what we're seeing in the market is people are forgetting how to respond to disruption because they're almost expecting disruption to be huge. These big events that disrupt the whole world. The Brexit is a disruptive event, make no mistake about it. But it's how you respond to it. It's how you react in that place that's going to determine tomorrow and the future for you.
So is it then that every business should be thinking today about contingency? And it could be on different scales. Yes, contingency with Brexit. Is your market in Europe? Is your market, if your market is in Europe, make certain that you're growing your market worldwide. Absolutely. You've actually got a breathing space at the moment. Yeah. So you've got an opportunity there to do that. If somebody does bring out a product that is similar or better than yours, be prepared to reinvent your mousetrap.
Absolutely. You mentioned just now the manufacturing environment. Manufacturing environment in the UK is about 5% of the country's turnover per se. What an opportunity. What a huge opportunity. If you were importing previously your product, your widget, from Europe, where it was manufactured, or from China or from India, what about looking at manufacturing it here? Disrupt the market yourself. Become a disruptor. One of the things that's, if you look at Apple, for example, huge disruptor in the market. And it's a disruptor that we felt over the years. How can SMEs become that disruptor in their marketplace? And I think that's the switch around that owners in the SME space need to be looking at. How do we disrupt the market? How do we impact the market instead of allowing the market to impact us?
Do you think every industry sector can respond the way you're talking? For instance, financial services is a big export service area that we have. The regulations, the rules, Europe are not going to look favourably on the city.
Sure.
They're going to want to make, there's already talk that they'd like to move it to Frankfurt. You hear some of the experts saying that what would happen, move it to Frankfurt, be back in the city once again in 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Because we have the appropriate skills here.
Absolutely.
International language on the date line.
Yeah.
London is the place where it needs to be.
Yeah, for years. London has been the place where it all happened in the financial service space. And yes, there may be some companies that move to Europe, but I think in the main, it then creates an opportunity for those smaller companies to grow into that space. And again, that's the opportunity. If a large corporate moves, somebody's going to grow into that space because that void has to be filled. And it's the disruptors, it's the people that have got the right attitude that will move into that space and take advantage of it.
I mean, it's interesting, just looking at the list that we've got here, we were talking about the disruptive elements, large and small, that have happened. And business, all of us, in fact, you know, both in our personal and our business lives, we have to be aware of them. 2008, we mentioned the economic crisis, the coalition government. No one expected that.
No one expected that.
No one expected that.
Yeah.
Particularly Nick Clegg, he didn't expect that, did he? 9/11, very political today. I don't know what's about with the 9/11, 7/7, of course. Out of the blue.
Absolutely.
Interesting though, and a lot of businesses aren't prepared for this. Clients changing suppliers for no discernible reasons, suppliers going out of business unexpectedly, competitors launch a new product, government changed policies. Is it just a case of making certain that we have a plan?
Absolutely, and I think it's all about positioning. At the end of the day, it's all about how you position your business. And part of that positioning is having a plan. Knowing, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in detail just now, but knowing where you want to go and why you want to get there. If you know the destination you're headed towards, your plan will drive you to that. And it will allow you to be, I always say businesses need to be flexible, they need to be agile, they need to be adaptable. And SMEs are prime position to be adaptable, to be flexible, to be that agile business that can adapt to the environment as the environment changes.
Do you think there's a size of business that can't have that agility?
Well, SMEs is typically described as any business that's 249 staff or below and a certain amount of revenue.
So a large multinational, a large energy company is a bit like an oil tanker.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How apt. A little bit of a pun there, but it's heading in a straight line, and quite frankly, you'd have to do a lot within it for it to be any discernible difference.
Yeah, for the large businesses, they always say it takes an age for the Titanic to turn around. And that's what happens with a large corporate business. Very difficult to move it in a different direction. And we saw that during 2008. They were very slow to react, very difficult to change direction. But you also noticed in 2008 how the smaller businesses, and I'm talking more about micro businesses, those that are 9 staff and below, they adapted so quickly to change and filled spaces that other companies couldn't because they couldn't adapt.
So are there key processes then that businesses should be going through to be ready for change? Are there markers? Are there KPIs? Are there things that every CEO, every board member should be aware of? Yeah,
I think for me there's 6 stages that every business needs to go through in order to position themselves to get to that place where no matter what disruptive force comes their way, they can adapt to it. There was a fantastic author by the name of Jim Rohn, who passed away a few years ago, who wrote a book called 5 Pieces to Life's Puzzle. It was a really fantastic, little thin book, but it gave such good insight into how we should position ourselves as individuals. And what he did is he described the environment, the circumstance, as a wind that blows, as a prevailing wind. And he described a business as a yacht, needing to go from one harbour to another against a prevailing wind. And the thing that got the yacht from here to there was purely the way it set its sail, which allowed it to tack against the prevailing wind. And business is the same. Brexit, 2008, financial crisis, 7/7, 9/11, competitors changing products. That's the circumstances. We'll face those things.
Tack your sail appropriately.
Yeah, absolutely. Set your sail so that you can make use of that wind to drive you to the destination you have. And earlier I mentioned, the first place to position yourself is to know where you're going and why you want to go there. That's your anchor point. If you know where you're going and why you're going there, you set up to position yourself perfectly.
Are the businesses that you go into that are like they're tiller free, they're just floating around?
Yes.
Briefly.
It always amazes me that a lot of CEOs in small business, MDs, owners of small business, seem to feel that they don't need a plan. They don't need a strategic plan to get them where they want to be. A lot of them don't even know where they're going. So they're almost getting up in the morning saying, well, we've got this product, how can we sell it into the market so that we can meet the bills at the end of the month? Which is really sad. Because if they had a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goal of where they want to go, I mean, you in your own business, you'll know you've got a goal where you want to hit in 3 years' time.
And on that bombshell, hold that thought for just one moment. So does your business have a goal? Do you know where you're taking your business? Are you a passenger in your business, or are you in the driver's seat, and are you steering it in the right direction? Vic Williams is my guest from Audacious Company. More to come in just a few moments' time. You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have your company as always. By the way, if you want to just have a quick gander at Vic's website, you can. It's vicwilliams.net. That's interesting that it's not a .com.
There is another website called theaudaciouscompany.com, which you can also use, but it will redirect back to Vic Williams. We're restructuring.
You're restructuring your website.
Yeah, the website.
If you want to find out more about Audacious, then you can go to the website, and there's a whole load of great information. If you just have a look at that again, the home of leadership and management training, and a nice site to go through. Loads of great information on there if you want to find out more. And the URL is vicwilliams.net if you want to find out more information. So Business Connections Live on a Monday. It's great to have your company as always. And, you know, exports, we kind of touched on it. We alluded to exports earlier on. I mean, that isn't going to finish. That isn't going to stop. There's no two ways about it. I predict in 10 years' time, 10 years' time, it'll be pretty much the same.
Absolutely.
We'll still be exporting and importing. Absolutely. Okay, there may be a difference, but maybe our marketplace in 10 years' time will be a bigger, more global marketplace. Whether the EU's there or not, or in its current form, who knows? And is it the European experiment that's gone right, or is it the European experiment that's gone wrong? I wonder if Miss Merkel sleeps easy at night at the moment, because, you know, decisions are made, and then those decisions have to be then considered and then either paid for or resolved. And all sorts of things are going on at the moment. I think we're in an interesting place. I must admit, the morning after Brexit, I'm quite open about this. I went in there with the intention to stay in, and while I was there, I thought, let's go to hell in a handcart, and I set out. And the next morning, like so many people, I thought, what have I done? Yeah. And now I've become I'm confident in the success of Britain, because I think Europe will trade with us, because, as you said, it has to. Yeah. And I think we've now opened up a global trade opportunity that will make us greater than the sum of our parts.
Absolutely. Well, if you think, Steve, in the past, the UK gave the world the internet, the World Wide Web, gave the world computers, and so many other things. Why is that suddenly going to stop?
Yeah.
The same quality of people are here.
Yeah. We're still here, folks, for the moment. Listen, export funding. How do you go about doing that? Export finance. We're still going to be exporting. That's going to be important. We've got a great programme on this. Gabriel Bucky joined us on the programme, how to gain access to export finance. Fascinating insight. We're still going to need to be doing it. If you haven't watched the entire programme, I do suggest that you get onto our website at Business Connections Live and watch the entire show. Gabriel Buck, his key advice that he gave at the end of the programme. Have a watch of this.
Exporting is, for a lot of companies, part of their DNA from day one. Do not be disheartened if you are rejected from the banks. The banking market is much more fragmented. So my key words of advice to you is: 1, pre-position; 2, make sure that the advice that you're getting fits your own particular objectives as a business; 3, make sure that your propositions are in the language that the banks understand; 4, persevere and follow through. The market is huge across the world, and for those companies that are exporting and it's part of their DNA, the successes that they get make them much stronger credits. Thank you.
That was a fascinating show. If you do get an opportunity, watch the entire thing. Gabriel Buck there on how to gain access to export finance. And of course, 130 was the program that you need to go looking for. Just simply go to our website and you'll find all the shows there, all nearly 150 of them. So our thanks to you, our audience, our viewers who watch the programs religiously. A lot of people downloading on iTunes now. If you do go onto iTunes, I'm going to ask, can we do this? If you go onto iTunes and you watch a show and you think the show is great, then leave us a 5-star review and tell everybody. It's easy to do. Is it easy enough? There we go. All you got to do is click on your iTunes, view the programs in iTunes. You'll find that link on our website. Then just go to ratings and reviews. Just click on that. Here we go. Pop. And that'll then take you down to this here, write a review. Now, you need to write something that goes something on the lines of, thought the show was excellent, love Steve Hynan's hair, something like that, and then give it 5 stars. And we'd really appreciate that, because that pushes us up the ratings on iTunes. It means that we get recommended and we can get the message out there to a bigger audience. So we'd really appreciate you doing that. If you don't mind, get your mum to do it, your dad to do it, your auntie to do it, get everybody to do it. The more the merrier, that's what we say. So just go to iTunes and check that out. You're watching Business Connections Live, and my guest on today's show is Vic Williams, founder of the Audacious Company. We're talking about Brexit opportunities post-Brexit. I think the consensus of opinion so far has been that probably it's not as bad as we think it's going to be.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit then about what we can do to inspire ourselves for that success, and also companies as well out there that do inspire us for that success. Yeah. Let's just get a feel for the UK size of business. I mean, I know you've got those figures, so go on then, just give us a bit of a feel for how big this is.
Absolutely. Roughly 5.4 million companies registered in the UK. That doesn't obviously take into consideration many of the self-employed, the people that are not registered, but 5.4 million businesses in the UK. 99.3% of those are SMEs. That's companies under 250 staff and below. 5.1 million are micro businesses, businesses with 9 staff and below. And that is the market that can easily grow. It's the market that has the greatest impact. 33% of people are employed in that market. 19% of the country's turnover is in that space. Now, obviously, the larger corporates, they generate a lot of income because of their size. But it's at that bottom end, those 9 staff and below. Those are the companies that can really be agile,
People
really
used
adaptable.
to say that we were a country of shopkeepers. We're actually now a company of entrepreneurs.
Absolutely, without question. I think the country should carry that badge as a country of shopkeepers with pride, because that's a small business. That's the place where this country started, got its growth, and will continue to grow in the future. So that space really excites me, Steve. So if you have a look at the services environment, that's 74% of businesses. And as I mentioned earlier, 5% of businesses are in the manufacturing space. Growth opportunity. Absolute growth opportunity.
So how do we take that foundation? Because it's not going to be dissimilar in other European countries.
No, of course
I would
not.
imagine that Germany and France are going to have very similar statistics when it comes to small business operators, or are they different in their cultural approach to small business?
I think looking at the statistics I've looked at, they're pretty much similar. A lot of countries around Europe, around the world, have this strong base of SMEs that impact their economy all the time, and guys who are adaptable, flexible. So they're pretty much the same. So I think the statistics are the same.
We are up against it, though, as small businesses, aren't we? I mean, we talk to individuals, we talk to bank managers, and do you think there is something that is intrinsically in the entrepreneurship of the individuals that start these businesses that, I mean, okay, we're saying today that opportunities post-Brexit, I suppose when people would read that title, they'd be thinking that it's going to get tougher, it's going to get harder. It's already tough out there for some businesses, isn't it? I mean, I know that you've got a story. What's it? Jess Ratty and Ben Ford. I mean, it's all about the psyche of the country, the psyche of the SME, the psyche of the entrepreneur.
Well, a perfect example is the Cornwall Camper Company. The story goes that they went to the bank to borrow money. The bank manager said no. In fact, the quote was, just go bankrupt. But they had a vision, they had a dream, they had a destination they wanted to reach. And that destination drove them to find an alternative source of revenue or an alternative source of funding to allow that dream to become possible. They went out, they eventually raised £5,000 through the startup loans, the government-backed startup loans, and today they are recognised as one of the UK's leading destinations for people going on holiday. They've got 5 camper vans, you can hire the van, you can take it for a trip and see this great country. They've built a business out of their passion, and that is what makes an entrepreneur. That is what makes the guys that have got these small businesses so good. It's a passion. They know where they want to go. They have an idea that drives them forward.
But do you have a process then when you talk to businesses? Do you say to them, here's a piece of blank sheet of paper, here's what you need to be considering, here's the process that you need to go through to instill that enthusiasm, that vision perhaps, maybe in the way that they drive their business forward? I mean, what's the process that you would take a business through to do that?
Well, firstly, asking 4 questions. Where are you now? Why are you where you are? Where do you want to go and why do you want to get there? And that second part, where do you want to go and why do you want to go there, gets a lot of people thinking. Often we'll see people have a vision. They know where they want to go, but they don't know why they want to get there. And a chap by the name of Simon Sinek wrote a great book, Start With Why, is what the book's called. Absolutely amazing. And the whole idea is to understand why you want to do that thing, because it's the why that will drive you. It's not the dream, it's not the big house on the hill or the big fancy cars or the huge turnover. It's the why that will drive you to accomplish those things. And that's the place we start, is asking why. Let's nail down why. It may be a one-day process. Sit down, work out why. Okay, now I understand why. It may be a 10, 15, 20-day process, maybe a month. And the same is true with every organization. If you can understand why you want to go where you want to go, that vision becomes clear.
The danger with all of this, I'm sure there are people asking the question, the danger with this is that we get a lot of people around the UK who will stand up and they will give that motivational talk, and we use very similar words, and I'm not saying anything because obviously you're going in and you're a doer, but you would hear there are people that stand up there who do the talk, and they will give the motivational words. You've got to ask yourself the why, and is it that, or is it just hard work and good luck that gets a business from A to B and from B to success? Is it just hard work and good luck? No. Or even, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know about you, how many businesses that are watching this, do you have your business plan? You remember your business plan. That's the one you went to the bank with and you went, here's what we're going to do, Mr. Bank Manager. And then you filed it away somewhere safe because that's the business plan. This living, breathing document, your business plan that hasn't changed from day dot. Or maybe you don't even have a business plan.
Well, that's why I prefer not to call it a business plan, Steve. I prefer to call it a roadmap.
I knew you'd have a different name for it somehow.
Well, let's imagine if you want to go from where I live down in Exeter, down in the southwest. If I want to go from Exeter to, let's say, Edinburgh, and I've never been to Edinburgh before, I need to have a roadmap. I need to know along the route what the stopping off points are. Where am I going to get fuel? Where am I going to get food? And food is very important. And I need to know...
Along with champagne, by the way, yes.
And I need to know what length of time it's going to take me to get there. So I need a roadmap. I don't need a plan, I need a roadmap. And sometimes we get caught up in this whole idea of I've got a business plan, and as you say, it's in file 13 or it's in the bottom drawer, and it comes out once a year, and we look at it and we go, oh, we missed that, and we bin it and we create a new one. Rather a roadmap. Where am I right now? Why am I here? And where do I want to go? And then how do I get there? It's about a journey. And it's a journey that inspires people.
You talked about 1 year, 3 years, 5 years.
Yes.
Those kind of plans, though, are just best guess, aren't they?
Of course, yeah. But it's still a destination. I'm going to give you an example. In South Africa is a company called Discovery Group. Here in the UK, they own a company called Vitality. Now, this isn't an advert for anybody. It's just an example. But Vitality, you'll see them advertised around the cricket, around a lot of football grounds. It's a South African-owned company. The guy that started it, a guy by the name of Adrian Gore, started Discovery Group as a health provider with the vision of delivering health services in a different way, linking the repair part of health, so if you've got a heart attack, how do you fix that, with the management of your life so that that event doesn't happen. So that was his vision. He had a long-term goal. He said 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years down the road, these are the stopping off points we need to have to get to that place. He also had the goal of taking it to other countries around the world, and he knew at what stage he needed to do that. That goal is still the same. It hasn't changed. But if you look backwards to 1993 when he started the business, they've hit those stopping off points all the way along the line. It wasn't a best guess. It was based on where he wanted to go. Along the route, he's had to change. There's been diversions. There's been disruptions. But he has made it through to the end. Well, they're probably not at the end yet, but they've made it through to where they wanted to get to. And now they've got a greater vision. So it's having a roadmap is not about, well, it may change in 5 years' time, it may change in 10 years' time. It's about this is where we want to go. This is what we want to become.
Know where you want to go.
Absolutely.
And then take the most appropriate route at the time.
Yeah, and diversions are put in the way. So if you're going that road from Exeter to Edinburgh, roads may be closed. They may be resurfacing the road, and you've got to take a road that, again, you've never seen in your life, maybe an A road, maybe a B road. So there are differences in that journey, but the end result is still where you want to get to. And it's that end result that can drive passion within you to make it a reality.
So really what we're talking about is all down the planning. I mean, there is a note that you've got there as well about Apple as well. I've noticed. It's interesting about, and we'll talk a little bit more in a moment, but the whole idea behind Apple, they've just launched a new phone. But Apple don't sell phones. Apple don't sell computers. Apple send a technology-based experience.
Absolutely.
And I think that's interesting. I mean, maybe if you're selling a service or a product, are you just selling it as the product, or are you selling it as a service or an experience or whatever? Are you thinking, I suppose the expression is outside the box?
Yes.
I mean, it's a fascinating insight. And once again, thinking like that is going to open up those opportunities, because you're going to be thinking a different way when you're trying to sell to global and European markets when the future changes, as it will change somehow, but you'll be ready for it when it comes to that. My guest on today's show is Vic Williams, founder of the Audacious Company. We've got more from Vic to come in just a few minutes' time. You're watching Business Connections Live. Lovely to have your company today. And absolutely fascinating insight. And I think it's kind of different, the programme that we're doing today, than what I expected. I think when we talk Brexit, you always expect people to be going, the pros and cons of whether we're in, whether we're out, how to get around it. But really, I think what's been nice about today is been a repositioning of where our business is in our mind's eye. And I think that's been a real insight. Now, if you think that Vic is doing a grand job, now I can't claim anything about his style, his persona, his professionalism on camera. But what would you do if someone was to come up to you with a TV camera or with a radio microphone and they asked you to give an interview about your business? Would you be prepared? Would you be ready for that? If they were to come up to you and ask you a difficult question about what your core business is doing, maybe you've been in the press recently or whatever, and maybe you've had some bad press, how do you handle that particular interview? Do you start thinking up company policy on the hoof? Do you have the key answer? Are you able to redirect and deflect maybe some of the questions that have been asked from the reporter? Can you get a promotional message over about your organisation and the services that they provide? Do you feel you don't have the skills for that? We run a one-day training course. It's a workshop to all intents and purposes where you can come on a one-day workshop. You get the opportunity to be in a proper TV studio, and we'll take you through the process of how to do a TV interview. And then we'll give you an indication. We'll take you through the process of how to do a radio interview, the differences, how to look after, the questions that you'll get, for instance, for a TV interviewer, and how to handle calls that you might get from a radio listener. How do you go about doing that? Fascinating day. We've had a number of large multinationals on the course. We've also had some small single-man operations where we've got 6 people together that come on the course and had a fantastic day, and they've used it as a networking event as well, for that matter. If you'd like to find out more about it, you can go to our website. I'll give you those details in just a few moments' time. We had Iris on one of our courses just recently, James Griffin. He brought his team on the course, and here's what he said about our one-day training course on how to handle the media.
I'm James Griffin from Iris Software, and my team have just completed the How to Handle the Media workshop. It was a really great course, it was really fun, and it was a really unique way for them to polish their presentation skills and learn how to answer difficult questions under pressure. So I'd highly recommend this to anybody that values those skills and really wants a great day out with their team.
James Griffin there from Iris Software telling us about the benefits of bringing his team on one of our training courses. If you'd like more details, if you'd like to bring your team on, it's a great team building day actually. It is very much a workshop. It is not talk and chalk, and it is turnkey. It is specific to your industry sector. So if you're working in making plastic milk bottle tops, then that's what we'll talk about all day long. If you're an expert in the automotive industry, if you're an expert, shall we say, in the energy industries, regardless of what it is, we work with your PR team, and the course is turnkey to your industry. Want more details? Of course you do. I suggest you drop us an email on this address, studio@businessconnectionslive.com, or why don't you give us a call? Honestly, give us a call today. Have a call. The telephone number is 01784 256 777. You can talk to either myself or to Linda Bazan to find out more details on how we can help your business be more professional in the eyes of the media. Also, don't forget, you can follow our stream of consciousness at BCL Business TV, or if you wish, don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page too. But you can find us on LinkedIn. We're all over social media like a rash at the moment. I did notice that one of our tweets that went out over the weekend from our website was celebrating last Christmas. And why not? It's nearly Christmas again. It's only a couple of weeks away, so and that'll frighten us all, won't it? The Christmas trees will be up. The days are already getting shorter. So from the hottest day of the year to Christmas in 3 days. That's some going. Listen, get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live and be more professional when it comes to the way you present your business to the media. You're watching Business Connections Live. Great to have your company. My guest on today's show is Vic Williams. He's the founder of the Audacious Company. If you'd like to find out more about Vic, you can go to his website at vicwilliams.net. Or if you want, there is a book available as well, Audacious Leadership. Here is the book, classic book, How to Become a Leader That is Bold, Innovative, Inventive, Unconstrained by Previous Ideas. And, I like books like this because it's good, clear business advice. It takes you through the whole process of where you should be going with your business, how you should be thinking about it. I mean, let's start with the first chapter there. Chapter about leadership, the search and the why. A lot of people need stuff like this. if for no other reason, just to refocus where you are, I think it's very easy for us to go a bit fuzzy. We come in and we do more of the same. And what's that old expression? If you do more of the same, expect more of the same.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, you know, just a little change in the way you're thinking about your business, a little change in how you are on a daily basis. You know, that one additional email, that one additional phone call a day that you might make could bring in thousands of pounds worth of profit, could change the success of your business. One additional call each and every day to a prospective customer. At the end of the year, what's that? There's going to be about 300 additional sales calls that you've made. That's going to have to make a difference, surely.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's true, isn't it? Yeah. You must find that when you go into businesses that you say that to them. It's the little changes that make the difference to success.
Yeah. All the time. You find a lot of companies get stuck in, as you said, doing it the same as it was done yesterday. I worked with a company recently where the CEO said to me, we can't do that, which I'd recommended, because we've always done it this way in the past. My response was, well, if you've done it that way in the past and it hasn't worked, maybe you should be changing it. They didn't. Sadly.
How did he feel when you stopped hitting him with the stick? Was he all right? With the nail through the end of it?
He didn't respond very well.
Listen, you've got a clear process, and I'm going to ask you at the end anyway to do the key takeaways.
Sure.
But let's look at the clear process that we talk about when it comes to getting ourselves ready for the opportunities that Brexit is going to afford us as a nation and as an SME, as an entrepreneur. And let's just work our way through that and just solidify that in our viewers' mind's eye. 6-step proven system. Destination then.
You've got to start with the destination. If you don't know where you're going, anywhere will be a result. But if you know where you're going and you get there, the result will be so much bigger, so much better, so much more impacting. If you know the destination, your emotions are involved. And at the end of the day, all of us are emotional beings. We mentioned just now changing your product or the way you deliver a product to influence somebody's emotions. Apple does it. When you open that box, it's an emotional experience. Absolutely. And that destination becomes an emotional experience as you go through the process. So know why you are going somewhere and know where that is. That's the first thing.
What about this vision that we have of our business in our heads? What should we be doing with that?
The way to dispel the negative vision you have in your head potentially is change the way you think. As I mentioned right in the beginning of the show, 3 steps. Change your philosophy, the way you think about everything. The stuff you read in the newspaper, change the way you look at that. Change the way you listen to the news that you hear. Change the way you think. That will change your attitude. That will change your actions.
So with the Brexit, look for the positives in it.
Change the way you look at it.
Change your look at it.
Yeah, if you change... So Brexit is something that's there. But if you change your perspective on Brexit, so if we think of right now, here's a laptop in front of us. When you look at that laptop, and if I asked you to describe it, you're going to give me a particular perspective. If I look at it and I have to describe it, I'm going to give you a totally different perspective. But if I want to see it the way it's meant to be seen, I need to come to your side of the screen. And that's what I'm saying. Change your perspective on Brexit. Look at it as a positive, and everything will change going into the future.
All right then, so have a clear destination for where you're going to be going.
Yep.
What about where we are? Do a lot of companies get lost with not really understanding what their current position is? So it's all very well knowing where I'm going to go, but I'm not quite certain where I'm starting from.
Exactly. And that's probably the biggest challenge. A lot of companies have an idea of where they are, but they don't know exactly where they are. They don't understand what their product is. They don't understand what their service is. They don't understand what their people are capable of. All that sort of stuff, they don't have a clear understanding. So what I'm saying is find out exactly where you are right now, financially, and know why you're here. Know what brought you to this place. Because again, it's that emotional connection. Know why you're here. And often that becomes quite a negative emotion because you realize you're not where you could be. So
all right,
understanding your current position is very important.
So we've got our destination.
Yep.
We know where we are.
Yep.
I suppose the next step then is working on a plan or a strategy to get from A to B, that roadmap. Now, when you talk of strategy, what kind of things are you talking about in that?
Well, we look at everything. You look at your market, you look at your product, you look at your people, everything that makes up your business, you've got to look at in totality. So you've done your research in terms of where you are, you've done your research in terms of where you want to go. Now you have to understand the stopping off points along the road. What key targets do you need to hit to reach that destination? Is the market there for your product or your service? Is there the financial viability within that market to accept your product and service? How do you adapt your products and services to that road? So it's all that whole space of understanding everything you need to understand down the road that'll get you to your destination.
I suppose then what you've got to understand whether you have the skills and capability to actually do it as well, for
Absolutely.
that matter.
That's the next step, is understanding the capabilities and the capacity to deliver on that roadmap. So again, let's take the idea, we're going from Exeter to Edinburgh. We've got the roadmap, we know the route we've got to travel. Do we use a bicycle? Do we use the train? Do we use a car? Do we fly? So it's all those things that come into capacities and capabilities. Do you have the staff that can deliver on those key points, those key stopping off points? Do you have the products and services? What do you need to change? Do you need to get rid of some stuff? Do you need to bring some new stuff in?
Do you have to have fixed times? There are also targets as well?
Yep.
You know, the time frames, I take it's useless to go, that's where we're heading, we'll get there when we get there.
Absolutely. Time frames is critical, Steve. I always say to people, as we spoke earlier, have a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goal, those visions, laid out where you need to go to get to that destination. But break it down even further. Understand what you need to hit every quarter, half yearly, monthly, weekly, and daily. What do you need to do today that tomorrow becomes a reality? And it's that term of a continuous tomorrow. Tomorrow's, somebody one day said to me, tomorrow is a promissory note, and a promissory note's got a long-term value to it, and that's what tomorrow is. So if you do the right things today, you'll be doing the right things tomorrow and the next day, because it's always today.
And performance management, important?
Performance management is critical. You've got to understand the process of rolling out what you're doing, so your roadmap, rolling out that roadmap, and then managing the process. Are you hitting those key performance targets? Are you hitting those markers that you've set out? If you are, that's great. If you're not, what do you do to adapt it, to adjust it, to get yourself back on track? So performance management is really asking the question, am I on track or off track?
On track or off track for Brexit opportunities? That's the question you've got to ask yourself today. Are you thinking the right way about your business so that it fits in with tomorrow, with whatever it brings? It's been an absolute pleasure, Vic.
Thank you very much.
The hour has flown by.
Yeah.
We always ask all our guests to just maybe give us the key takeaways at the very end of the programme. Straight down camera number one.
Okay.
Say who you are and where you're from. The airways, Vic, are all yours.
Well, Vic Williams from the Audacious Company, and there's 3 points that I think are the key takeaways here. Purpose, intent, results. If you're purposeful, you're intentional, you'll always deliver the results that you want.
Crikey, short and sweet and straight to the point. It's been absolutely fascinating, and it really has been. From your point of view, what are the plans that you've put in place for your business to gain the opportunity, to gain the edge when it comes to Brexit?
Well, again, my business partner and I are going through the process of re-evaluating exactly what our plans were, how we need to adapt them to get them to our destination, which we've had over the long term. We're actually going through the whole process of performance management at the moment, readjusting the things we do to make it to the destination. So we're going through this process right now.
And when you look back, what was the big surprise for your business, for you and your business partner? What was that single big surprise? What was the thing that caught you just slightly on the back foot and you thought, hadn't thought of that, hadn't realised it?
I think the biggest thing over the last 5 years, but since Brexit, is probably the financial opportunity that's available in terms of funding your way forward. I never expected the funding opportunities that are available. So crowdfunding, you mentioned it earlier. I never expected that to be such a huge source of funding. And if there's guys that are really struggling for funding, that's a massive place to look at as peer-to-peer support, crowdfunding, all those different things. That caught me really by surprise. It wasn't something that we'd ever spoken about in South Africa. And since Brexit, it's kind of become a topic that's rising to the top of the discussion.
And as we said earlier on as well, one of the things that Vic did mention, the things that keep business owners awake at night is going to be funding, cash flow, Brexit,
its impact,
and their staff.
Yeah.
So, if you are being kept awake at night at the moment by any of those three subjects, I mean, hopefully what we've done on today's program, we've given you the opportunity to realise that, there is funding out there. So maybe that's going to resolve some of your cash flow issues. Brexit, look at it from a different point of view. It's going to happen. So, get on with it and look for the opportunities in Brexit, and your staff will manage them better, manage them well, and congratulate them when they're as good as they say they are. Listen, thank you very much indeed for being on the program today. It's been a pleasure, and we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Business Connections Live. So a great show today from Vic Williams, founder of the Audacious Company. Don't forget, if you do want to get hold of his book, all you got to do is you can go online. Can you get this on Amazon? Or
Amazon, it's available, yes.
Amazon. There'll be a link on the website if you want to get yours. Vic Williams, there is no passion to be found in playing small. It's settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living, said Nelson Mandela. That can't be wrong, can it? So an inspirational quote there. Audacious Leadership. The book is available on Amazon. We'll give you links as well on the website for that matter. If you want to find out more about Vic, you can go to his website at vicwilliams.net. Audacious Leadership Academy, the Management Academy, and the Audacious Business Support. You can find out more and also see what people have said as well. Well, I recently worked with Vic during the merger of our company, and it was fantastic, and it changed while I was reading it. So that's not always good. But listen, if you want to find out more, go to Vic Williams' website. Just the housekeeping to do then. So what have we got on next week's show? Our guest on next week's show is going to be Ali Crump, Head of Corporate Risk, AA DriveTech. Ali's going to be talking about the risks, legal responsibilities, employers' responsibilities and drivers' responsibilities on the business commute. That really is an interesting show. If you are driving for your business and you are using your car to do your employees' business, legally, where do you stand? All revealed on next week's edition of the programme. Ali Crump joining us from the AA. Coming up on future programmes, got Dr. Linda Shaw, business psychologist, Victoria Vickery, All-Star Marketing Club, Ginny Carter, the author maker. If you want to... Now, this book, published it yourself?
It's self-published.
It's a self-published.
It's self-published.
If you want to self-publish a book and you want to know how, it's a lot of people now, a lot of motivational speakers, a lot of business experts, a lot of professional speakers out there, business speakers are publishing their own books.
Absolutely.
Useful?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You actually see a growth in your business, don't
absolutely. You? Yeah. It's almost a business card that carries on giving.
Yeah.
It doesn't run out. It's fantastic. If anybody can self-publish, fantastic.
We'll be telling you how to do that with Ginny Carter. Let's run those credits. James Potter, the LinkedIn man, is going to be, so the author maker James Potter and the LinkedIn man Jim McLaughlin will be with us as well. It's all to come on future editions of Business Connections Live till we do it all again next Monday. From me, Steve Hunt, have a great week. And from Vic and me, it's bye for now. Bye-bye.